Hey, Amy Posner here. And I've been asked a question quite frequently recently, and that question is, what does a $20,000 month look like? So for people who are trying to grow their business, scale their business, imagine their business as a bigger, more lucrative entity, they're wondering, how do you do it? What does it look like? And I have a theory that there's a certain point you get to in your copywriting business. And I think that number is around $60,000 per year. So, I'm thinking whatever currency you do business in, what's that equivalent? Because I find when people get to about that number is when you start to think about these $10,000 months and hitting six figures and going beyond and having these $10,000 and $20,000 months. And what gets asked a lot is, can you do that with copy projects alone? So here's the truth. And there's a couple of things that I want you to think about here. First of all, when you hear people talking about like, oh, I just had a $10,000 or $20,000 month, it doesn't necessarily mean that they made $20,000 that month and that they make that every month and that they've got this beautiful $240,000 a year income. It might mean that, 3 of the projects that they billed in January came due in March and voila, it's $20,000, but, the total for the quarter is $30,000. So be wary of that, because I've seen that before, and it can be deceptive. But what you want to look at once you hit that $60,000 mark approximately is what kinds of projects are the most lucrative for you, and where is your pricing and where is your timing relative to those projects. So let me explain what I mean. So when you come up with a price, and I always suggest going project price, not hourly, although I think it's valid to use an internal rate hourly to figure out a project price. And so you should have an approximate sense of what you want to bring in an hour. And remember, as you're thinking about this, you're not an employee. And so whatever you bring in per hour is not what you make. You have overhead expenses. You have different expenses than you do as an employee. And I'm only bringing that up because sometimes people say like, I can't charge that an hour. Like at my last job, I only made like fill in the blank. It's a whole totally different equation. And so what you need to know to run an effective business and to be profitable is you need to know how long projects take you, because that's the only way you know what kind of money you're making. And it can be hard to, look at the mirror and realize that, you've budgeted 20 hours and you've spent 40, but it happens more often than not, right? It's more common for something to take longer than we think than it is for something to take less time than we anticipate. So the only way you can be sure that you're sticking to your own financial goals is by timing what you do and timing it on a regular basis. Because frankly, it is one of the ways to increase the amount of money you make is to get better at something so that you do it faster, which tends to happen if you repeat a type of project, right? You have experience, you get better, you get faster. Suddenly, if it took you, 10 hours to do the $1,000 thing and you were making $100 an hour and now you can do it in 5 hours, now you're making $200 an hour. Meantime, though, you want to have an internal number that you're always working to increase to get to the number that you want to make ultimately, within reason, of course. You want to have the skills and talents to justify the price increase. So what you want to look at then, you want to take your various offerings and you want to look at what you charge for those various offerings and combine them. What would make a $20,000 month? So say, for example, you write sales pages, you write emails, you write landing pages, maybe you do something else, but let's just say that that's what you do. So what do you charge for a typical sales page? Now they vary in length, so what do you charge for a short form, a medium form, or a long form? What do you charge for a landing page? What do you charge for an email series? So let's just say, for example, you charge $5,000 for a sales page. It's a nice round number. You charge $2,000 for a landing page and you charge $3,000 for an email series. If you added those up, for example, that would come out to $15,000. Do you have the time in the month? Could you complete those projects inside the frame of 30 days? Now, if you can, then you can generate $15,000 a month. If, however, it's going to take you 2 or 3 months, it may be that you've booked that money in, but it's not really what you've earned, if you see what I mean. And you can deceive yourself, but what's the point? If you really want to earn the money, you need to know, what is the right combination of projects that gets you to that number. And if you, like, say it turns out, okay, you could do that sales page, the landing page, and the email series, but say it's going to take you more than a month, or say it's going to take you less. Now you have an exact sense of what you can put together to make that equation. I had it described to me in a way that really resonated. Oddly enough, someone talked to me about looking at your business and thinking of your offerings like a shopping mall. So you know how shopping malls have the two anchor stores at either end, right? The big well-known stores generally that people come in for. And then there's the stores along the corridors, which are generally smaller or less well-known. You might come in for those, but they tend to be secondary to these primary anchor stores. So here's your two anchor stores. These are like your two key services. How much money will each generate for you? So if you want to make $100,000, just as an example, again, using a round number, can you generate, say, $40,000 with each of your anchor services and make up the other $20,000 with like various smaller services you offer? Do you offer enough services to make that a reality? So I think that's the place to start. I mean, it's a very straightforward kind of, business widgets equation. Like, how many widgets do you have to sell to make that money? And that's really what we're looking at here. It's kind of a funny equation, but it's kind of nice because it gives you a sense of, what you're earning now for time invested and where you're going, like what you would like to be earning. So I think those are the two pieces that will answer that question for you. Now, let me just reiterate what those two pieces are. It's knowing how long it takes you to do things and what you charge, and seeing if the combination of those can get you to a monthly number that you want to hit. That's going to feel like the right number for you. So the other thing to think about here is your vision about what you would like to do and what you would like to charge eventually. So granted, your skills have to be up to speed. You have to have the confidence. But I mean, it's not unusual for somebody when they're starting out, they might charge $1,000 or $1,500 for a sales page, and they might, 3 years down the road, they might be charging $12,000 for a sales page. Yes, it's for a different kind of client, it's a different kind of copy, but both of those animals or both of those entities or types of copy exist in the marketplace. The question I think you need to ask yourself is, what do I want to be writing? Who do I want to be writing it for? How long does it take me? And look inside of that space, and is there room for you to make what you want? Now, if there isn't, don't panic. I mean, there are other things you can do. You can do productized services. You can do different kinds of offerings. It's one of the things that I teach or work with people on in Coaching on Demand is figuring out that equation so that you can make consistent income. And sometimes to figure out that equation, you have to dial back a little bit and figure out, like, who should you serve? Understanding that there are seasons in business, right? Sometimes, some years, it's like, you know what? I want to serve the place where there are valuable products and I can contribute the most and I can make the most income, because this year income is paramount. It might be that next year you say, you know what, I've made some decent income, now I want to dial my business in so it fits me better, so it's more what I like. And then you have different parameters and different things you're looking for. And that's one of the things that I help people sort out, so that you can craft your business or structure your business so it suits your needs today, and you can be thinking about and working toward what's going to suit you down the road. And I will reassure you that there is so much work to be had out there in the world. I think there is more work than there are people to get the work done, copywriters that is. So rest assured, once you figure this out, you can bend this equation to your advantage. One thing that I like to say, and it's a little odd, but I believe it's true, is sometimes it's easier to get what you want than to know what you want. And typically when you know what you want, you create some momentum and it starts to happen. And I think that's what you can create here by starting to refine and define your parameters. Who do you want to work with? What size, what type of client, what kind of industry? And I'm not suggesting you have to niche, but you need to know what's going to suit you best. What type of copy do you like? What's the most fun for you? What's the most lucrative? And you put all those factors together and then you come up with your best equation. Thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful. If you are interested in Coaching on Demand, visit my website at amybosner.com. If you'd like to be notified when these videos drop, click the bell and you will get notified. And if you've got a question for me, put it below. I will answer. Bye for now.